What if you knew exactly how and when you were going to die? The people in these photographs did not because they were psychic, not because they had special powers, but because at some point in their lives, sometimes years before it happened, something inside them knew, and they said it out loud. Abraham Lincoln described his own assassination in a dream 3 days before it happened. Bob Marley told the exact story of how he would die to a reporter years before it came true. James Dean pointed at his own car and said the words that would become a prophecy. These are not legends, these are not myths. Every single word you are about to hear was documented, recorded, written down, witnessed by real people. And every single prediction came true. They all said it before it happened. Stay with me, because number 3 on this list is the one that nobody has ever been able to explain. Not a single historian, not a single expert, nobody. Welcome to Retro Remind Network, the channel that pulls out the stories the world was never supposed to forget. Today, we are looking at 8 of the most documented, most verified, most impossible to explain predictions in history. 8 people who looked into the future and saw exactly what was coming for them. Some of them tried to change it, some of them accepted it, some of them made peace with it years before it arrived. None of them could stop it. Let us begin. Number 1. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, one of the most famous men who ever lived. 3 days before he was assassinated on April 11, 1865, Lincoln called his closest advisors into a meeting at the White House. He sat down with them and told them about a dream he had just had. In the dream, Lincoln said he was walking through the White House. Every room was empty, but he could hear sobbing, distant, muffled sobbing coming from somewhere deep inside the building. He followed the sound from room to room until he reached the East Room. Inside the East Room, there was a coffin. Soldiers were standing guard around it. Lincoln walked closer and looked inside. The body in the coffin was wearing a suit. The face was covered. Lincoln turned to one of the soldiers and asked who has died. The soldier looked at him and said the president. He was killed by an assassin. Lincoln told this dream to his advisor Ward Hill Layman, who wrote it down in detail in his personal diary. The diary still exists. Historians have read it. The account is verified. Lincoln had that dream on April 11, 1865. On April 14, 3 days later, Lincoln was shot at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. He died the following morning. His body was laid out in the East Room of the White House, exactly as he had dreamed. Lincoln was not the only president to have premonitions, but he was the only one who described his own assassination in perfect detail before it happened. He knew, he told people, and 3 days later every single detail came true. Number 2. Bob Marley. Bob Marley, the most famous musician Jamaica ever produced, a man whose music has been heard by more people than almost any other artist in history. In 1976, 5 years before he died, Bob Marley gave an interview to a journalist in Jamaica. During that interview, he said something that the journalist wrote down word for word. Marley said, "I do not come to bow, I come to conquer. That the thing about life is that you cannot conquer death. Death comes for everyone. And when it comes for me, it will come through my foot." Journalist who heard this thought nothing of it. It seemed like the words of a philosopher, a poet, not a prophecy. But in July 1977, 1 year after that interview, Bob Marley was playing football with friends when he injured his right toe. A small injury, nothing serious. He did not think much of it. The wound did not heal. Doctors examined it and discovered something nobody expected. The injury had revealed a rare and aggressive form of skin cancer called acrolentigenous melanoma. It had started under his toenail. Doctors told Marley the toe needed to be amputated immediately. If they removed it, they could stop the cancer from spreading. Bob Marley refused his Rastafarian faith, and he believed the body should remain whole. He would not allow the amputation. The cancer spread to his lungs, to his brain, to his liver. On May 11, 1981, Bob Marley died. He was 36 years old. Death came through his foot, exactly as he had said 5 years before it happened. Number 3. Mark Twain. This is the prediction that no historian has ever been able to explain. Mark Twain, the author of Tom Sawyer and the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, one of the greatest writers America ever produced. Mark Twain was born on November 30, 1835. On that night, Halley's Comet was visible in the sky above the Earth. Halley's Comet only passes close enough to Earth to be visible once every 75 to 76 years. It is one of the rarest sights in the natural world. In 1909, 1 year before he died, Mark Twain wrote the following words in his autobiography. He wrote, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It is coming again next year, 1910, and I expect to go out with it. It will be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet." Mark Twain wrote that in 1909. He was 73 years old. He was in good health for his age. There was no medical reason to believe he was about to die. Halley's Comet arrived in the inner solar system in April 1910. On April 21, 1910, the day after Halley's Comet made its closest approach to Earth, Mark Twain died of a heart attack. He came in with the comet. He went out with the comet. Just as he said he would, 74 years apart to the day. No doctor could have predicted that, no astrologer, no scientist. Mark Twain simply knew, and he wrote it down a year before it happened. Number 4. James Dean. James Dean, Hollywood's most iconic rebel, the star of East of Eden. Rebel without a cause and giant, he was 24 years old and had only made 3 films. Every Hollywood studio wanted him. The world was at his feet. In the summer of 1955, James Dean bought a Porsche 550 Spider, a sleek, silver, devastatingly fast racing car. He named it Little Bastard. 2 weeks before his death, James Dean was visiting a fellow actor named Alec Guinness at a restaurant in Hollywood. Guinness later wrote about what happened in his autobiography. Dean wanted to show Guinness the new car. He walked Guinness outside to the parking lot where the Porsche was waiting. Guinness looked at the car and felt, in his own words, an almost physical sense of dread. Guinness turned to Dean and said, "Please, do not get in the car. If you get in that car, I believe you will be found dead in it by this time next week." James Dean laughed. He thought Guinness was being dramatic. He got in the car and drove away. Exactly 7 days later, on September 30, 1955, James Dean was driving the Porsche on Route 466 in California when another car pulled out in front of him. The collision was instant and catastrophic. James Dean was killed on impact. He was 24 years old. Alec Guinness's warning was recorded in his autobiography published decades later. The dates match perfectly, 7 days, exactly as Guinness had said. Whether Guinness had a premonition or whether James Dean simply drove too fast in a car that was too powerful for the road, nobody will ever know for certain, but the prediction was real and it came true. Number 5. Princess Diana. Princess Diana, the most photographed woman in history, beloved across the world for her charity work, her warmth and her connection with ordinary people. In 1995, 2 years before she died, Diana gave a secret interview to journalist Martin Bashir for the BBC. The interview was broadcast in November 1995 and was watched by over 23 million people in the United Kingdom alone. During that interview, Diana said something that most people remember for different reasons, but buried inside that conversation, almost as a passing comment, she said the following. Diana said, "I would like to be a queen in people's hearts, but I don't see myself being queen of this country. I don't think many people will want me to fulfill that role. I think I will be got rid of." The interviewer asked her what she meant by got rid of. Diana paused, and then she said in some form. 2 years later, on August 31, 1997, Diana was being driven through the Pont du Lama tunnel in Paris when the car carrying her crashed at high speed. She died in the early hours of that morning. She was 36 years old. The words she used in that interview, "I think I will be got rid of," in some form have been analyzed by journalists, historians and investigators ever since. Whether she believed her life was genuinely in danger, or whether she was speaking more metaphorically about being pushed out of the royal family, nobody can say for certain, but the words existed, they were recorded, and 2 years later she was gone. Number 6. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, the best-selling music artist of all time, a man whose performances were watched by hundreds of millions of people around the world. In 2009, Michael Jackson was rehearsing for his This Is It concert tour at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. 50 concerts, his biggest comeback, the whole world was watching. On the evening of June 24, 2009, the night before he died, Michael Jackson finished his final rehearsal. By all accounts, it was extraordinary. The dancers, the crew, the director all said it was one of the best performances they had ever seen from him. After the rehearsal ended, Michael Jackson gathered the entire crew together on the stage and he spoke to them. He told them, "This will be the greatest show the world has ever seen. I want you to give everything because this might be it. This might be the last time. Several crew members later said that the way he spoke felt different that night, more serious, more final, as if he was saying goodbye. On June 25, 2009, the following morning, Michael Jackson was found unresponsive at his home in Los Angeles. He was pronounced dead at the UCLA Medical Center that afternoon. He was 50 years old. This Is It concert tour never happened. The rehearsal footage was turned into a documentary film, and the words he spoke to his crew on June 24th, "This might be the last time," became the most haunting words of his final night on Earth. Number 7. Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur, one of the greatest rappers who ever lived, a poet, an actor, an activist, and an artist whose influence on music has never faded. Almost 30 years after his death, Tupac Shakur spoke about his own death constantly, in his music, in his interviews, in his conversations with friends. But the most documented prediction came in 1990, for 2 years before he was killed. In an interview, Tupac said the following. He said, "I know how I am going to die. I am going to die young. I am going to die violently, and it is going to happen in the street. That is just the life I live." On September 7, 1996, Tupac Shakur attended the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. After the fight, the car he was traveling in was ambushed. Multiple shots were fired at the vehicle. Tupac Shakur was hit 4 times. He died 6 days later on September 13, 1996. He was 25 years old. He died young. He died violently. He died in the street, exactly as he said he would. Number 8. The Lincoln-Kennedy coincidences. This final story is not a single prediction. It is something stranger than that, something that historians, mathematicians, and researchers have studied for decades without a satisfying explanation. Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy were both presidents of the United States. Lincoln was assassinated in 1865. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. They lived a century apart. They never met. They had nothing in common beyond their office. And yet, the similarities between their lives and deaths are so precise, so specific, and so numerous that the probability of them happening by chance has been calculated by mathematicians as essentially impossible. Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946, exactly 100 years apart. Lincoln was elected president in 1860. Kennedy was elected president in 1960, exactly 100 years apart. Both were shot on a Friday. Both were shot in the head. Both were sitting next to their wives when it happened. Lincoln was shot in a theater called Ford's. Kennedy was shot in a car a Lincoln made by Ford. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. Both were succeeded by vice presidents named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908, exactly 100 years apart. Both assassins were known by 3 names: John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald. Both had 15 letters in their name. Both were killed before they could be brought to trial. Nobody planned this. Nobody could have planned this. The men who killed Lincoln and Kennedy did not know each other. They lived a century apart. They had no connection. And yet somehow across 100 years of history, the pattern exists. Make of that what you will. Lincoln dreamed about his coffin. Marty knew death would come through his foot. Twain knew he would go out with the Comet. Dean drove the car. He was warned to leave alone. Diana said she would be got rid of. Jackson said it might be the last time. Tupac said he would die young and violent. And 2 presidents a century apart lived and died in patterns that nobody has ever explained. Were these predictions, premonitions, coincidences, or simply people who understood themselves and the world deeply enough to see what was coming? We may never know. If this video made you think, if any one of these stories stayed with you, please subscribe to Retro Remind Network. We find the stories the world forgot, and we make sure they are never forgotten again. Share this video with someone who loves history. Leave a comment telling me which prediction shocked you the most. I will see you in the next one.